Fed up of floor robes, driven to distraction and drowning with doom boxes? Tired of living in chaos? Welcome to Decluttering Untangled, how to declutter when you're overwhelmed, ADHD or autistic. I'm going to help you uncover the secrets to decluttering, no matter what hurdles you face. You'll discover how to declutter, de-stress and transform your world. I'm Heather Tingle, reformed hoarder, neurodivergent declutter queen, and your guide through the maze of mess. Let's get untangled. Hello Untanglers, and welcome to another episode of Decluttering Untangled with me, your host, Heather Tingle. Now, today's podcast, I want to talk about how to declutter when your partner doesn't want to be involved or is resistant to it totally. Now, this is something I get asked so often, and if I'm honest, I've kind of shied away from discussing this topic because it is so huge, but also a little bit of a reality check. There's another reason I've not really gone into it, and that's because there's no magic solution to this. Now, before you press stop on the podcast and think, well, there's no point in me listening, please note that that isn't to say that there aren't things that you can do, because obviously you can. So today I want to explore that a little bit with you and give you some practical strategies to try that hopefully means that you can work together in a way that works for both of you. So why is this a common challenge? Well, let's face it, there are different personalities, or you might have got different values, you might have had different past experiences or different traumas, and you might have different tolerances for clutter. But also, there are also different neurotypes, and we all do things differently and need different things. So all those things can act on someone's ability to let go, their ability to face the issues, and also the tolerance. Like a perfectly beautiful home will look different for all of us. And let's face it, my home is not minimalist. And some professional organisers even would come in my home and go, whoa, this needs sorting out and decluttering. Well, actually, no, it doesn't, because it's actually fine for me. So you will, in a relationship or in a partnership, maybe you live with somebody and you're not in a relationship with them, and that can impact too. So let's look at how we can try and keep everybody happy. Now, one person might be more emotionally attached to items or more comfortable with just in case thinking, or the other may not be bothered by the stuff and actually can fail to see why it even needs doing because they're just not bothered by it. They're just not attached to it. They don't have any emotions about it. It's just there and they don't really need to do anything about it. So the first thing to work out is it they don't want to let go of stuff, or is it they don't want to do the work to declutter? Because one is very different from the other. Also, find out if they are okay with you moving things but not letting go of things. So, for example, is it okay to zone items, and that will help them realise just how many of one thing they've got without you having to point it out. Now, if you've been in my world long enough, you will know, hopefully as well as I do, that it is never just about the stuff. So often it's about deeper feelings. So they may feel about having the security of things staying the same and the status quo. So they might think that you think that your life together is not good enough for you. And if you change things, then you will discard them. I mean, it is possible, but that might be a concern. They may worry about losing control over a situation, or not having control, not being in control of a situation. And that's not to say that they're like a control freak. It might just be their coping mechanism, and that will be rocked by you trying to, let them to let go of things. It might be linked to their identity, or they might have had past experience of loss that maybe not even able to articulate, and that will impact how they feel. And also, they might also be subconsciously aware that they blame you for the clutter. And if you declutter, they will be faced with the reality of, actually, it wasn't just you that had the clutter and caused the problem. So that is all in there too. And decluttering can feel quite threatening if someone thinks that they've got to change. They might feel at capacity and have no bandwidth for doing the work. They may not understand your methods. They might not understand why you want to do it. Or it may be something like PDA, or they might feel criticised by it, by just you even mentioning it. So that is something to consider too. And just to have that on board and have an awareness of what is the reticence, what is the reason why they don't want to be involved in this? What is the reason that they're fearful or anxious about it? Because that can come across as being really negative about it. And actually, maybe they're just frightened. Maybe they just have concerns and anxiety about it. Common mistakes that make things worse, and I've seen this not in my household, but in a household very close to me, is one person has thrown away the other person's things without permission, whether that has been really covert or overt. So it might have been that they told them they were going to do that and they chucked things away, or it might be they sneaked things out of the house and it only became apparent later. Please, 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 do not do this, whether it is a partner, whether it is a friend, whether it is a colleague, or whether it is a child. Do not do this, because once you have lost that trust, it is lost. Sometimes it's lost forever, and that is not something that you want on your conscience. No matter how much you want to let go of the thing, it really is not worth that. Do not use shaming or nagging language. So, don't throw that you're a hoarder or you never help or sort your stuff out. That isn't helpful, as frustrating as it is. And I know we don't live in a perfect world where we could be perfect all the time, but do look at how you approach it and the language you use, and do not expect them to match your pace or enthusiasm. Because, especially if you're ADHD and you want to go all in on something, it may be that they don't want to go all in on it with you. And that's okay. It can be a thing that's just for you, that is your thing, that you go all in on, and they don't need to be in with you. You need to look at shifting the focus about what you can control. So start with your own belongings and shared spaces that you've agreed you are allowed to work on. When you sort out your own stuff, you will feel much more in control of making a positive example and making positive changes in your life. And you will start to feel the benefit, even if it is only of your items. So please don't think that they totally have to be on board while you are doing your stuff, because they don't. Yes, it's great to have someone who is supporting you in a way that is doable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to do it alongside you and do the stuff that you're doing. They don't. They can be supportive in other ways. However, when you model the benefits and you show how much easier it is to manage and how much that affects your mood, how much that minimizes the stress of daily living and makes life easier for you, hopefully that will get them on board. And also see if there is an aspect that they can be involved in. So do they like the tech side of things and apps? So can they list things on Vinted for you or eBay for you? Are they able to research for you? Are they better at taking things to a charity shop for you? Or is there something that you need their help with? Do you need help lifting things into the car, or do you need help with an exit that feels comfortable for you both? Be aware of the using them to get the exit, though, if there is a likelihood of them going back through the bags of your things and taking things back out again. Make sure that if they are doing an exit with you, that they're a safe pair of hands to actually get it to the exit without it coming back in the house again. Finding small agreements where they are allowed to have their own zones that you do not touch. So agree on no-go zones where each person has total control, and also maybe collections of items, so no-go items. So if it is this type of item, please do not let it go. It is something that I want to feel comfortable letting go of. Is a really good way to find out what each person's boundaries is and try and work within them to the best you can. By having that respectful conversation, that will go so much further than going into battle. Create a decision maker space for items that, although you are in charge of letting go, but actually you would like to run past them, is a really safe way to get them involved with no judgment, because if they decide they want to keep them, that's fine. They are in a box for them to then find a home for, or they will just stay in the box and the box will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it will probably do your head in, but that is totally okay too in the meantime, because that will get bigger and bigger, and it just shows that you are honouring what they want from you. So that is actually a positive. I know it doesn't feel like it when you're drowning in stuff and you really want them to let things go, but do use that as a positive. And I know this sounds very like woolly, but using I statements. So I feel calmer when the counter is clear. This makes me so much happier to be able to do this instead of you statements. Now, you do need to be careful of this because you're doing it to share why it matters to you and being honest about your needs and why it's impacting you in positive ways once you've done something. You're not using it as a shaming way, and you're not doing that whole passive aggressive thing that we're all so good at as, oh, it's so much better when this counter's clear. That isn't helpful, and that is not going to get you anywhere except, possibly divorced or, ostracized. So do think about how you're talking about it and use I statements in a way that is honest and about how it's impacting you, not in a shaming and negative way. And do pick your moments. Do pick a calm moment to talk about it, not mid-argument or when you're both massively overwhelmed because you feel that a room's a total nightmare. That is not the time to discuss how you can declutter together unless you are both on board wanting to change that situation. With joint spaces and joint items, you've got to work to the level of the person who has got the most resistant. You've got to work at that level. And yes, it might mean things are slower and it may mean that some things never get done, but it does mean that there is trust and respect and you are still a partnership. And that works so much better than battling against it. And honestly, sometimes you have just got to compromise and accept that your version of decluttered might not be their version. And you've got to ask yourself, are you okay with that? And if you are, wonderful, you've got something far more important than the things. So that is great. If it isn't, then that's time for probably bigger talks. Looking at what you are in control of and what decisions you want in your life. But in the meantime, can you create zones, so areas that you can keep the way you like and areas where they have more say? But sometimes peace in a relationship or a partnership and having respect is more valuable than a perfectly minimal home. Now, I know, if you're anything like me, you're not aiming for a minimal home, you're aiming for a better home. So a little bit better is still better than conflict, and every little bit counts. So work on your own stuff. And I often find that once a client has decluttered their stuff, what happens is their partner's then happy for them to continue decluttering everyone's stuff, or they get on board with it because they've then seen the benefit. So they start to like take things on board. So listen out for those little clues where they are actually coming round to the idea, but don't jump on them too much. So don't frighten them off by it and go all in on like, a full on download about it all. Just listen out for the questions about it and the sort of changes in attitude when they start to ask questions about the process, or, okay, so explain to me why is this here? Or, what does that woman on the internet say? What does the woman on the podcast say? And let them work at their own gentle speed with it and, get them on board, get them listening to me. Hopefully that'll help. But if it is not working and it is not getting you moving further forward, or it feels like you are blocked at every turn, then this might be where you seek extra help and get a neutral third party like me, like a professional organizer or coach, to reduce the emotions and to be able to play referee almost. I do play referee with a lot of my clients and ensure that everyone gets listened to and understood, because a lot of the issues is that it's impossible to understand the other person's point of view. So if you can understand it, then you are really doing well. But also consider something like couples counselling to help address underlying issues that decluttering might bring up. So there we go. That's today's podcast. So I really hope that you've learned that you can still make real progress without forcing someone to be on board right away. And remember, like, change is a process. Sometimes it takes time and sometimes it's not an easy ride. And that is, unfortunately, that's life, but you can still do amazing things with your own things. Until next time, remember, be kind to yourself. Remember, you're not alone, and keep untangling. Thanks for joining me for today's episode of Decluttering Untangled. If you found anything that I've said today helpful, please do me a favour. Hit that subscribe button or leave me a review. It's like receiving a virtual high five that keeps me going and lets me know that I'm helping real people out there and I'm making a difference. Please remember, you're not alone in this. I'm building a community of fellow untanglers over on Facebook. just visit the show notes for the link to my free decluttering community. So until next time, remember, you're not alone, you're not lazy, you can untangle your life.